Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Slam Connection podcast. My name is LaCroix, aka Atlas Nixon, and I get the pleasure of running this amazing organization. But as you may have noticed, we have a guest. We have a guest. But before
Yeah.
we get to the guest, I introduce myself. You got to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Brianna. I am the Director of Community Engagement for Slam Connection. And yeah, the guest is more important.
And
So.
yes, the guest,
Let's see.
please, sir, sir, we
Who are
have.
you? We don't know you.
Listen, ladies and gentlemen, we have the current host of the open mic at the venue on 35th. We have one of the main curators, lead curators of the Conduit down in Norfolk, Virginia. He is a father. He is a husband. He is all of the things. He is a two-time verb bender. All right. He's been on the verb benders team, been fifth in the nation and 10th in the nation. All right. Listen, the floor is 10th in the nation. My God, he's built like that. Listen, can y'all give it up for Professor Symay?
What's up, folks?
Yes, sir.
I'm a guy that does poems and does them all right. I do them pretty well. So, what's going on, fam?
What's good? Listen, glad to have you here, man.
Glad to be here.
Glad to be here. So we got you here, and we wanted to talk about something specific. So, last episode we talked a lot about like what slam is and why it's important. But today we brought in Symay to talk about how to take over a city. So we about to put y'all on game real quick. So first thing, when you hear the term like take over a city, what comes to mind?
So, when you say take over a city, I would say the only way to specifically take over a city, like, because I don't think I'd ever took over. I just took up space that was available.
Come on.
Uh, one thing that I realized on the way over here is that folks like Daniel, folks like Dez, folks like the folks in our community that came out of the venue on 35th Street that have been going to slams outside of the venue on 35th Street um, did that after I did it. And I'm not saying I'm the only person to slam other places, but I was one of the ones where somebody gave me a slam to go to. I went.
Come on.
I went to Writers Den. I went to Bull City. I went to Slam Richmond. I went to Rich Inc. Anywhere within 200 miles or so that where there was a slam, I was going. Whenever there was an open mic, I was going. I was going to every mic that I could get on. I was on it. And I think that showed other people that there was that was a way to go. Like you can go to whatever mics, whatever slams, whatever mic that it will allow you to spit. Go do it.
Come
I
on.
I went to some open mics that I probably shouldn't have gone to and spit, and I was like, okay, I'm here now,
Good boy.
and I paid my money, so I'm gonna get up here and I'm gonna do my thing. Yeah. So
That's what we need. That's what we need.
That was some of the first advice that you gave me when I was getting started. And
hmm
it helped out a lot. So definitely setting that culture.
that's what I tell every single person that tells me that they want to do spoken word. I say get on as many mics as possible. That's what the comedians do. The comedians jump from one mic to the next, to the next. They'll do 3, 4 shows in a night and not think nothing of it. Poets, why wouldn't we do the same?
Facts. Come on now. Come on now. Listen, poetry, especially when it comes to like the slam and spoken word side of things, the rich get richer. Right?
Absolutely.
If you really, and especially nowadays when you can go to a workshop online, you can go to virtual open mics. Like if you really wanted to, even if it's not even going in person, if you really wanted to find a way, you really wanted to get outside, as we say, there's ways to do it. And one thing we encourage all of our poets, all of our friends to do is get outside. When we talk about like taking over a city, you can't do that from one room, right? If your influence starts and stops in one place, then you're never going to be in the city as much. You know, you're never going to be able to really influence your culture because your culture goes beyond and is bigger than just the one room, right? So when you hear take over the city, what does that mean to you?
Oh my goodness. I guess if I'm going to loop it back into what I see with Slam Connection is what I would say. So making a movement, right? Making a name for yourself and changing the culture, not just in what it is that you do. So in our case, poetry and art, but also the culture surrounding it. So creating that ripple effect. And I wouldn't say it's taking over as much as it is being, I guess, being identified with that space and setting a positive influence within it.
That's real. So yes, choosing like finding ways to, like you said, fulfill this, like take up the space, and then also like bringing the positivity. I think the craziest thing is when you get to some art spaces, so many people want to get on stage rather than build the stage for others. Right, so many people are looking to do the thing rather than help other people do the thing, which you need both.
Right.
You need both. But if everybody's just trying to get on a stage and there's no stage, then everybody is just gonna leave jaded. And if there's nobody there to like help put that stage together, and even if you have people that know how to put a stage together, but there's nobody that's motivated to stand on it, then it has no momentum. It's like a really nice car with no engine, right? So okay, so when it comes to especially like with conduit, like let's get into that real quick because you run a couple things, like you kind of head up a couple different movements in a couple different spaces. So we'll talk conduit and also host a venue on 35th. Like how do like running those two scenes? How
So
does that differ? And then kind of a multi-headed question here. How does that like kind of loop into when we're talking about like taking over a city per se?
so I think it starts with just understanding feeling a need. Like that is the thing that I have always felt like I should do is just find a space and fill it. I've never been the guy that like I know what clear cut position I'm going to be in every single team I've been on, every single workspace. I've always been the glue guy, the guy that just, hey, we need somebody to do this. That's what I've done. So even in the art space, I've always been a guy that has always been supportive of other folks doing things. So when it came down to conduit, it came down to a conversation, and we had a conversation about probably almost 2 years ago. And I told
Wow.
you it was you, me, and Sonny. I felt like we're believers and really good spoken word artists, and I felt like there
Yeah.
were other movements in outside of this area that were doing big things, and I was like, we have the same amount of talent here.
Right.
So doing conduit was just having a space of uh, really really good artists, but also believers in having that space coexist. Now, that space we curate, and that's just to make sure it's not an open mic just for the sense of we want the artists that we know have put in the work and have like really become serious about their craft as well as our believers. We want that space to we want to make sure that that space is dedicated to that.
Right.
Because you know with an open mic you can't really gauge who comes up. You can't I don't want to say police, but you can't really control the night. Whereas with that space, we want everybody to feel welcome. We want everybody to feel like the spirit is in the room for that.
Right.
Whereas venue on 35th Street, I took over for George Mendez, who hosted for 11 years, The
Yeah.
spot had been open for 5 years before that. The space is a pillar of the community.
Right.
I just host the open mic. My job is just to hold that space open for other folks. Um, but I feel like the venue is like the venue's the gym.
Mm-hmm.
The venue, like I understand there's community there, but the community's already built.
Right.
The support system is already built. So I feel like the artists that need stage time, that need a place to grow, that's what the Monday night open mic is for.
Right.
Before you go slam, before you go look for a feature, before you do your first gig, come to the venue on 35th Street. There are people that will love on you when you're not good yet. Like, and that's just me being honest. There's a point. Everybody goes from being not good to good. You never start off good.
Facts.
You may start off naturally talented, but if we compared your natural talent to folks that have polished their stuff, you got room to grow.
Come on.
So that's what that space is, and I'm just trying to hold space for you until you're ready to branch out and go find those bigger stages.
Yeah.
Like it's not like open micing is not for you to make a career out of,
Talk.
but it's a space for you to always come home to.
Come on.
You can go off and do your features. Roberta Lee, one of my favorite people. She was country music television's next up last year. She's featured like everywhere in the 7-5. I used to play lead guitar for a band behind her. We went all the way out to Tennessee, been to Pennsylvania, all of that different stuff. She started at the venue on 35th Street.
Wow.
And it's one of those things where she built her craft from the ground up and then went out and said, hey, I can actually get booked for this stuff. Had a music video on Times Square. And it's one of those things where if she can do it, you can do it too. But it has to be of the mindset of, as I said before, go to the gym, then go compete. Like go like, and I don't mean compete like everybody, like you as an artist that is attempting to get booked. You're not you are in contention. You are in competition with everybody and everything. Like you have to be the thing that they want to book. You have to be the best you and put the best product out there so that somebody says, I will pay for this.
Come on.
Like it's not, you're not like, it's like when we go to poetry slams, we're just competing with other poets. When we go to nightclubs, when we go to colleges, we are competing to get booked with everybody, from the comedians to the singers to everything, and you have to put the best product out there available. So the venue's there for this space to be open. Come in, do your thing, and what Q5 always say: find your thing, do your thing, share it with the world. And I feel like a lot of people have stopped at finding their thing and doing their thing.
Come on. Come on. Facts.
Share it with the world. Like go out there. Like there's like you said, take over the city, but part of taking over the city, is putting the city on your back and carrying it elsewhere.
Talk.
Like you should, like one of the biggest things that I take pride in, like I'm from Norfolk. So when you see bird benders anywhere, it says Norfolk, Virginia. Like I'm from there. Like, so it's like when you see that, I want to put the city on my back. Like anywhere you see me, you see Norfolk, Virginia. I don't care where I reside currently. I don't care like what state I was born in. Like, cause I was born in Baltimore, Maryland, but I grew up in Norfolk. That is what that is me. So anywhere I go, I want you to say, "Oh, Norfolk got something going on."
Yeah.
Hampton Roads, yes, but specifically the city of Norfolk.
Talk about it.
I have kind of a follow-up question on that. I feel like with hosting, that is such an important role for, taking over a city, because you're kind of setting the tone with those events, and I think you do a very good job of doing that. What advice do you have for people who are trying to host those events, and what attributes do you think are important?
The community is bigger than you are.
Can you say that one more time?
Um,
Can you say that? Hold on. Can you say that one
Get a
more
little closer
time?
to the mic.
That was a bar. That was a bar.
the community is bigger than you are, and I just say that because there are 3 people that I learned this craft from: Q5, Godchild, and George Mendez.
Facts.
For all of those people, I learned something different. I learned from Godchild how to control a mic and set expectations. Godchild is really great at making sure that you know what the rules of engagement are for and what exchange is supposed to be. Like, hey, when this person gets up here, he does the fake person coming to the stage before the real person comes to the stage. Like, up coming to the stage, Johnny Rockets. And everybody go, so I need the same love that you gave Johnny Rocket. Hey, when Atlas comes on stage, you ain't never seen Atlas before in your life, but you gonna give him the same love that you gave to the person that you see every week.
Right.
Like that's something that he said. George said that hey, this is a safe space. Like, hey, we gonna cut out anything that's not conducive to what's going on stage. Like consistency, like running the same mic for 11 years, consistency. But Q5 is the only person I have ever seen that cared more about other artists than he did his own art. Somebody that cares for his own art, like works real hard on it,
Come on.
will push other people before he pushes himself.
Come on.
Every single time.
Facts.
Like opening up space for other people before he opens up space for himself. When I put out my first book, first thing he did, he immediately cashed out me $15. It was like, yeah, I need one. And
We need it. Yeah.
I made it to the first Cypher Tuesday back after COVID, and I was like, oh yeah, I got that book for you. He was like, oh, okay. He cashed out me another 15. It was like, he told everybody to follow Cypher Tuesday. He's like, oh, first person that followed, yeah, you get a copy of Symay's book.
That's crazy.
So
it's different.
What I did last night with
Right.
Patricia's book, like that's the things I really feel like you have to honor the folks that bring you up. Honor the folks that bring you in. I understand those folks taught you those things for a reason. And those things build community. So I can't go away from those things. I got to keep those things going. So when I see, hey, you brought your book. Hey, I don't care if nobody wanted that book coming in. Like, you gonna walk away selling at least one book today.
Right.
Like, and that was my thing. And I knew both of y'all were gonna sell out y'all books last night because I was like, y'all dope. But I was like, just to make sure that atmosphere of supporting art is in the room, I gotta support first.
Come on.
Like, when Roscoe came, like, I said, hey, he needs to be out of books by the time he leaves here.
He was out of books.
I bought one.
I think I bought 2. Like, I bought 2 just to make sure that 2 people in the room were like, oh yeah, I got a book. Hey, tell the rest of the folks in the room they need one too. Like, but it takes being supporting the artist that you are giving space to. Like, it's not, you can't just open space for them. Because just opening space for them is giving them a chance to grow, but they can grow elsewhere as well. Like, you have to be able to support them, like not just on stage. They have to feel like they're loved here, they're supported here. There's an exchange here, not just of like, hey, I got my stage time for the week. Because if that's the case, you can go anywhere for that.
Facts. Come on now.
Yeah.
No, that's real. Everything you said, I started thinking about, what's that movie, New Jack City, where they took over the Carter. For those who don't know, New Jack City is what did it come out in the 90s? I'm pretty sure it was 90s, but it's a story about this guy by the name of Nino Brown. All right, he has his crew. He gets together, and they start selling crack in the neighborhood. It's not a positive movie, but
It's a wonderful movie.
it's an amazing movie. It's just not very. I don't try it at home.
It's not a good influence, but it's a
not
good movie.
influence, but it's an amazing movie.
Wonderful.
If you think about how they took over the Carter and how they were able to move and groove throughout the city and how their operation began to expand, it's very akin to how us as artists have to move, especially when it comes to like how we represent our art form and how we spread our community and how we open up our community. You said something that really stuck out as like honoring where you came from. That's honoring your OGs,
Yes.
right? That's hey, you got big homies. Somebody somewhere put you on. Somebody somewhere put you on the set. So you got to make sure you stay connected to the set. All right, you can't just go out here and go rogue. You know what I'm saying? And also, you said something else. You got to make sure your product is good.
Absolutely.
People are not gonna come to you if your product is trash. There needs to be an
Absolutely.
ethereal feeling when they come in. All right, when they come into your open mic, to the whatever you got going on, it needs to be different.
You gotta be dope.
You gotta be dope. There's a bar in there somewhere. It's facts though. If you look at how like artist communities gotta move in order to expand, and how a gang has to move in order to expand. The only difference is that we can post what we do on Instagram.
I like to think that there's a few other things that are different.
The main difference. At the end of the day, we are selling a product. All right. At the
You
end
can
of the
get
day,
addicted to it.
You can. It is very addictive. All right. The only difference is the outcomes. You won't end up in rehab. All right. You're gonna get better. You're gonna be a better person by being in community. All right. It's an actually healthy thing, and it's not illegal yet.
Most places.
In most
Yeah.
places.
Y'all's work should be, but
but facts though, like a lot of what we do is like you got to make sure your product is good. You got to make sure like what you're doing like sticks out from anywhere you go. You know what I'm saying? Like for example, Slam Connection. If Slam Connection was the same as Richmond or what's going on up there, or the same as what's going on at Venue on 35th or anything like that, people wouldn't come out. You know what I'm saying? Even though we're in Williamsburg, we're in a niche market, and there's not really anything like that in the Williamsburg, Yorktown, Historic Triangle area. If somebody really wanted to find something, they can go anywhere else.
yeah.
Right.
So that's true.
And that goes back to like that finding a niche, because there's not as many spots in Williamsburg. You kind of have to fill every need.
Yeah.
True.
Whereas like in Hampton Road area, Q5 is one of those folks. He sent people to the venue before he would send people to Cypher Tuesday. Q5 curated Cypher Tuesdays forever, but he knew what the venue was. Like I told everybody, just to give folks a picture, the venue is like home, and Cypher Tuesdays is like your grandmama house.
Come on.
Where the venue is a space where you can be yourself, do your thing. Anything that you could do at home in your mirror, you do it at the venue. Whereas Cypher Tuesdays, there's a live band, there's drinks, so it's a little bit more like you got to come in with a little bit more polish. It's like when your mom or your grandma say, "Do that dance y'all do." Do that little dance, the thing that she already knows you do it well, so she's trying to get you to do it for folks. But I can't. The venue's not supposed to be that.
Right.
Cypher Tuesday's not the venue. The wet spot is not the venue. So I have to be knowledgeable enough to send other people other directions. Like you heard, I'm not sending folks to the venue on 35th Street if they're looking for content. I send them to Slam Connection. Why? The YouTube page, the Instagram page is promoting poets on the internet, and that's something that we haven't done. So let me send you. You got to be able to not be so full of yourself to think that everybody's supposed to come to you.
Say that one more time, please. Can you look into the camera? Oh.
I don't know if I should now.
My honest reaction.
It's not about your event. It's about the community. Like, it's about filling the necessary space. That's why there are so many open mics that flop, because they're just another open mic. They don't feel a need. They're just a bunch of people that want, like you said, want stage time, and but they're not growing community. The artists are not coming in and building with each other. They're not building space for each other. They're just going up there, performing for a bunch of other artists that don't want to listen to them, coming off stage and not listening to anybody else. And so if you haven't built community, you just got a bunch of artists that are doing what they could do in their bathroom mirror and probably could have stayed there. Like no, just to be for real, like you
Come
could
on.
for a lot of those mics where you're paying $20 for 10 minutes of stage time around 20 other artists that do the same thing that you do, and then after you get off stage, you're not building, you're not growing, nobody's even saying, hey, we could do this, or you could do this better. You're not inspired by anybody that was on stage. You just came to feel like the man for 5 minutes or 10 minutes at a time. You feel like you're the superstar. You paid your time to feel like a superstar, and saying, hey, I'm gonna put something out there that might not be all of that, but this the first time, and I'm gonna keep working at this. So yeah, it's that everybody has to be humble enough to know that the communities is for us to get better.
Come on.
True.
Come on.
The event can't get better if the artists don't get better. The artists don't get better if the event doesn't make a space for artists to get better.
Come on. Yeah. It's like you can't expect a sequoia to grow out of a briar patch. You know what I'm saying? That's really what I got out of that. That's different work. I'm glad that you mentioned that, because Slam Connection doesn't happen if there's no venue on 35th.
True.
Right.
So. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Slam Connection Behind the Mic podcast. We last left off, I was just saying that without Venue on 35th, there is no Slam Connection, because Venue on 35th really fills in that niche role of not just being home, but being the connecting place, right? I've got so many connections. I've gotten booked from being at the venue. I've just gotten connected throughout, really up and down I-64 throughout the state of Virginia, through people that have just come through the venue. So I love what you said about like each spot, each like open mic or each scene has to fulfill a role. And you were going in about a lot of like open mics that don't really fill a role. It's just you're paying for 5 minutes of fame. So like it makes sense that, say, come 2020, when we couldn't meet in person, right? Why a lot of those spots ended up shutting down, right? And a lot of those spots that weren't cultivating people ended up shutting down. So that's a major thing. Another thing you said is like something about the artists getting better, and that makes the open mic better, that makes the community better, because they are part of the backbone of everything that happens. So as far as the slam poetry side of it, you know, for a lot of slam poets, the idea of success is getting to a lot of like bigger slams. We're talking about like our SCRNCs, our Food for Thought, WOWPs, Southern Fried, of course, Charm City. Let's Talk Poetry Me Please. All the big like slams and stuff like that. How would you say a slam poet not only gets there but wins at that level? How do you do that?
So, first things first, those big slams are not as big as we think they are. They are like, don't get me wrong, like they are very, 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 very good poets. But at the end of the day, this is a game that we play with our friends.
True.
Come on, it's Mario Party.
But to get good at it, it takes a certain amount of skill, and it takes a certain amount of natural ability to do the things that people like on stage. How do you find those things? You got to get on multiple mics to figure out what works where.
Come on.
At the highest level, I think everybody is very skilled. You said food for thought, SERNC. Those are very good slams. But I'm even thinking of like the nation rep qualifier, where these are it's an invitational of only those that have won at the high. They've already won at the highest level.
Right.
Because a lot of those slams that you mentioned. Hey, if you want to compete tomorrow, all you got to do is pay your money, and you can compete with some folks that have won on the highest level and some folks that haven't. All you got to do is sign up. Like that. That was my. I thought that. Oh, how do you get into these poetry slams? Sign up.
Facts.
Like so. But when it comes to winning, it kind of takes that skill level, and then you also have to know how to push those buttons. Those that at the highest level, they know they're already skilled poets, but they know how to push those buttons. And to win, it takes getting into that flow state. Those that are at the highest skill level, their skill level beats 80% of people. Them at flow state beats 95% of people.
Wow.
But it's one of those things because you've seen in basketball, football, even on your job, when you get into a flow state where you locked in and nothing can stop you from doing the thing that you came up here to do.
Talk about that. Yes.
That's a mode that you can't teach. It's just a level of focus that you have when you get on stage. For me, it comes out of competition. Like it's or it comes out of competition or understanding the importance of the moment. And it's you can't fabricate that. That's one of those things where like I'm very polished. Like a lot of poems are very polished. So even if that moment is not there, you're still going to get a good show. But the moment where this like means so much, I've said it all the time. The battle rappers say they go upstairs.
Come on.
You just gotta get up there. The best, they already have the skill, but they have this ability to go upstairs and to lock in where the things that the audience connects with, they know how to push all of those buttons. When you have a time where everybody's on their flow state, now the judges are judging who was themselves better. And that is the best position you can put the judges in is you got to judge how well I was the best me versus them being the best them and that person over there being the best them. And that's where it comes back to skill, because if everybody is hitting on all cylinders, then it's those like you're grasping at straws, pulling at hairs. What is the did they say a word that connected with me, or did they say something that connected with me more? Like, and it's never about the poetic devices. That was something that it took me so long to get. It's never about technique.
Come on.
It's never about being more technical than the next person, because technique-wise, like I can show you on paper why there are 200 poets in the nation that should get all 10s every time they step on stage.
Right.
They get 8s, 7.5. Why? Because they're not connecting. There are people in the audience that are looking at them and saying, so? Like you
talk about it.
And there are so many people that will get on stage and expect because they're dope that they'll win. And that's not the case. And even on the other hand, there are people that think because I am a crowd favorite and I push buttons that other people like that. Oh, I go to this mic and I go there every week, and when I do this, they go crazy. I go to the poetry slam. I did the same. I pressed the same buttons.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody cared. Why? Because you also got to have the skills in the different rooms. You got to be able to do different things. You have to be able to hit those notes the way that they want to hear them.
Come on.
It's like when you it's like if an artist, because I'm not going to put this artist on blast, but there was a certain artist that went to a certain city and performed, and because of their name, they thought that they were supposed to get love, and people were supposed to jump out their seats to hear them, and they were like, "Oh, y'all don't want to hear me? Oh, this song ain't good enough for y'all?" No.
Wow.
And as an artist, you are responsible for that.
Talk about
Not the audience. The audience paid to see you already.
Mm-hmm.
The audience came here to experience you. So they are asking for you to give them something to hold on to. They are not reaching out for you. I mean, some people might come in and say, "Hey, whatever they give me is fine because I came here for that." Other people are sitting in there like, "Give me something."
They want to be served.
They're all of them are hungry.
Come on now.
All of them want something to eat, but it's though none of them are saying, "I'll take whatever." They all have a different palate, and if you're just presenting the same thing the same way over and over for each person, yeah, you might get like 80% of the people, but you will get to one of them days where it's like, "Yo, I just wanted a hamburger, yo.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we doing beef Wellington? Why? I didn't need all of this. I just wanted you to do the thing, and that goes to like people that like spiritual, miracle, spherical, all of that, and
the backpack rappers,
right? And you can like I used to love that. I used to think those were the best writers in the world. Me being a poet coming up, I was just a kid that listened to Lupe Fiasco a little too much.
Come on.
But I came around the best writers in this area, and and I was a part of Teens with a Purpose and Hampton Roads Youth Poet. I never made the Hampton Roads Youth Poets team because of artists that were much better than myself. If I say this, and I say this with pure confidence, if any of the poets, let me not say if any, if out of the teams from 2008 to 2012, 2013, maybe a year, like out of that, if 4 out of 5 poets on each one of those teams came outside today, they could win a Bird Bender Grand Slam.
Ooh.
That is with present company included. Like we have the Bird Bender team in the room. I say without a doubt. You see, Ayanna Florence is Woman of the World, correct? Ayanna Florence was on those teams or some of those teams, and was not the best poet on the team some of those years.
For those who don't know, Ayanna Florence is a problem.
Absolutely.
She built like that.
She is.
Now, she was not the same poet she is now that she was then. She's definitely elevated, but she was still dope back then.
Come on.
Like, I got smoked by her back then. I got smoked by everybody back then, though, so don't put too much stake in that. I was really, really terrible.
Hey, we told you, sometimes you're going to lose and sometimes you're going to win. You said that. Yes, sir.
But if I went down the list and just to show love, I came outside in like 2009. My little brother's best friend, Ray of Hope, he was the first 13-year-old to sack at B&V.
Wow.
The age limit goes from 13 to 19. Nobody was putting 13-year-olds on their team. Ray was the star of the team then, and you had people like Sylvantria. Slide used to go by Booby. You had Octavia used to go by Vision. And And all of these people sounded so different and were so good in a time where I was just finding my way. And yeah, it takes that level of talent to like inspire other people.
Yeah.
And that's one of the sad things about Youth Slam though, is those poems are stuck in 2009, 2010, 2011. Ain't no video. There's no, and because they're not outside anymore, and I don't blame them. Like, if you play high school football, that don't mean you play football as an adult. Like, hey, sometimes you go on and do different stuff. Like, I don't think everybody needs to be a spoken. If you're not like doing this to be an artist, if this is just catharsis, once it stops being fun for you, don't do it. And for a lot of them, it stopped being fun.
Yeah.
So, but they were that good. Like, I can't stress to you enough. Like I say to the people now, and I say this about a lot of the artists, not just the Hampton Roads Youth Poets. A lot of the spoken word artists on the scene now eat because other people put down their plate.
Yeah, that's crazy.
No, I'm so serious. Like,
that's crazy.
Like, I'm eating because other people put down their plate.
That's real. Like, yeah.
And I'm one. I feel like I had to get it out the mud. Like, I felt like nobody was giving me gems. Nobody was teaching me, oh, do this, do that, do this, do that. And I came from hip hop, so it's like, oh yeah, you got to do this yourself. You got to. If I knew what I knew now back then, I would have been asking everybody for help. I would have said, look at this poem, look at that poem. But instead, I did. The only thing I was doing was getting on different stages.
Oh wow, yeah.
So by the time I made my first Bird Bender team, I had been in the Grand Slam once, and I got booted in the first round. Then I made the Grand Slam again, and I was out, and I placed fifth. So I was the alternate for the team. So by the time I made the team, I had been in a Bird Bender Slam twice.
Wow.
Y'all made the team in your first one. Why is that? There's a community of folks, and it's a different type of community out here.
That's true.
Yep.
That's true.
And then what happened when y'all made the team? You became monsters.
That happened as well.
None of you are the same people that you were before you made the team. And the rich get richer.
The rich get
over
richer.
and over. Being around other artists, being around dope people makes you better. And so but you have to be around other people. You have to be around other dope artists and want to build that community. I think beforehand, I'd like, yo, I gotta be super poet. Like I got my style gotta be the best. Like I gotta make my style better than their style. It's like rapping back in the day, or even like dancing back in the day, like popping and locking were two different styles.
Come on.
And like it wasn't until somebody started doing both of them that was like, oh yeah, like you can do both. Like, yeah, you can learn from them. You can learn from that person. You can learn from this person. It's got to be a community effort.
Yes, sir. Listen, first off, snaps all the way around.
From the high.
You said all the things. We needed that. So, to round everything out. What are, if you can name like 3 to 5 things that a scene needs to be, and this is your question as well.
Oh.
3 to 5 things that a scene needs to be sustainable, right? Because I think there's a lot of, like, say, open mic and like slam scenes or poetry scenes that are good right now, but will they be good in 5 years? You know, will what happens now matter in 5 years? You know, so if you can name like 3 to 5 things that every scene needs, what would it be?
Okay. So, and this is what a scene needs to be conducive, not be a slam winning team.
Exactly.
Because you can be toxic and be a slam winning team. Not saying that the teams that win slams are toxic, but I'm saying that they're not mutually exclusive.
Come on.
You need artists. You need art lovers.
Mm-hmm.
You need art investors, because those three things are those two things are different. You need people that are willing to invest in the scene growing financially and time wise. Even if you love art, you might just come and sit down in the spot. Those three things are super important, but you also need policing.
Mm.
Because there's a lot of grimy stuff that happens on these scenes. Even in this scene, there's some stuff that I don't like that has happened.
Yeah.
And it takes somebody to check that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, it breeds contempt, and then that's when you get clicky.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't want that.
So you want to make sure that everybody feels safe on your scene, and everybody has space somewhere. We all don't have to go to the same places, but hey, there's some stuff that hey, ain't nobody in the scene gonna go for.
Right.
And I think those four things and anything other than that is just communication. Because if you got a pocket, like if you have all those things in a pocket over here, and all of those things in a pocket over here, and all of those things in a pocket over here, but there's no exchange going on. Because even though you got different scenes, like there's intersectionality between all of them,
Come
and
on.
you should lean into that to grow.
Come on.
So yeah, it's just those five things.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I think, I mean, outside of the obvious, right? The things you have to have that you might not think of, though, are things like more than just poets. You need a community that surrounds you, like you're saying, art lovers, right? People who surround that community and do other things. For example, Slam Connection. We have a team that's fans of poetry. We have photographers. They've never, touched a stage. They are still the Slam Connection team, regardless of being poets or not. So having that support, that's going to give you that longevity because you're not relying on just the poets in your scene. Beyond that, I think, just May's point in terms of like policing, so to speak, you need solid leadership. So someone who really sets that tone and has those strong ethics and those morals and humility too, so that they can get checked if things are getting out of hand as well. So I think a very strong leader is going to set that tone. I think you need a purpose. You need to know why you're here and what you're doing it for. Not just to be a slam winning team, but to have that longevity and to have that impact in your community. You need to know what it is that brings you all together and what your purpose is.
That purpose part. I felt that. Yeah, that's something, and that's something that I see a lot of scenes, if they don't have it already, that's something they're moving towards. I think, I kind of mentioned it before, I think 2020 really woke a lot of people up when it comes to arts, because we realized how necessary us being around each other is, and we realized that just as quick as it got here, it can be gone. Right? And if there's no structure, it's not coming back. I think one thing that it was humbling, but really eye-opening, when last year, when we got like started with our open mics, started doing it consistently, we started getting some of the people that was typically go to like Richmond open mics, because they were coming down to us. They were like, yeah, like there's not really a lot of the Richmond open mics got shut down. Like, so there's only a few that are really even open. And even then, like, I go to an open mic and like you said, it's people paying for their 5 minutes of fame. I don't really go there because I have a good time. I don't really go there because I'm trying to connect. I'm going there because I'm trying to get on stage. I stay for a few acts and then I'm out the door, and I think that's something that is starting to shift, especially when we're starting to realize how deep this poetry rabbit hole goes and how much impact we can actually have with it, so, but yeah, man, how do you take over a city? Have good stuff and do it well and do it excellent. All right. And do it consistent. Yeah, but that's pretty much our show, bro. My guy, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, man. You
Appreciate it.
dropped some bars, dropped some knowledge. We needed all of that. Um,
Can Symay close us out with a poem?
oh, yes. What you talking about?
Our special
All
guest.
right.
Yes, it's a thing.
Okay. Before I get to the poem, you can find me every Monday night at the venue on 35th Street in Norfolk, Virginia. Um, yeah, I'll do a poem. Let's do. Hmm, I like this poem. I say that before a lot of my poems, but I like this one, and I hope you like it too. So, I was actually watching this episode of Pokemon before I came here with my daughter, and it's season one, episode 4 of Pokemon, where Ash Ketchum has this Pokemon named Metapod, and he meets a fellow Metapod trainer, and after minutes of emitting male ego, they place Metapod against Metapod, and it's kind of odd because Metapod is this vulnerable cocoon that only learns one move, Harden, raising its defenses by toughening its skin. Both trainers order both Metapod to harden until they keel over and faint. Because once a Pokemon uses all of its moves, the only thing it can do is struggle. This move hurts the user more than its opponent. This episode let me know that Metapod was black. Let me explain. So Metapod was taken from freedom, placed in captivity, told to fight for mass enjoyment, made a plaything to be toyed with, a gladiator with no propensity for violence, and the only move to make, harder. Prepare for danger. Like being raised in a red Pokeball project won't enough. Poised in front of somebody that looks like me, the order toughen up because when it's black against black, no matter which one us cracks first in this mirror match, we both get bad luck because we are the ones carried the battle, but the math don't add up. They look at us like metal, hardened shell waiting to become shrapnel. They tell us to bring our issues back to back to back to back, but never give us the mind to adapt. Matter of fact, Metapod evolves from Caterpie, but Caterpie learns tackle. So Metapod was stripped of his ability to fight his monsters the moment they learned it could take more punishment. So black boys have to become men before middle school because daddy lost his battle to the streets. Black boy hardened, losing a childhood because a village raises a child with the hood and forces them to evolve. Black boy hardened, fighting types of depression because every lesson feels like it's taught with a fist. Black boy hardened, safe to become something learned to return all. Black boy hardened, black boys use too many hardens. Black boy never struggled. Future wife approaches the first kiss, black boy struggle. Son approaches for hug, black boy struggle. Daughter wants a daddy that's more than just present, black boy struggle. Trying to distinguish anger from love, black boy struggle. Black boy is affected by trauma, trauma is super effective. Black boy is now confused on why he can only struggle when all they taught him to do is harden. Isn't it crazy that cocoons are supposed to harden so much they break and let out something beautiful? But what if we harden so much we never let the inside out? Peace, y'all.
Oof. Listen, thank you for tuning in to this episode of Behind the Mic podcast. Stay tuned for some updates on future events. Thank you all for tuning in to this episode of the Behind the Mic podcast presented by Slam Connection. Now, if you want to come kick it with us in person, we have so many different events lined up for the month of September. Every week, we have something different going on. So check this out. We have Open Mic Friday the 6th, hosted at Column 15, and it's free to get in, free to sign up, and free to just come be a part of the community. Now, Friday the 13th, we kick off our Slam season, also hosted at Column 15 Coffee, and bout draw starts at 6 p.m. It is $10 per person to get into the door. However, if you sign up to volunteer to be a judge or part of the bout staff, you get into the event for free. The same thing applies to our Underground Slam on Friday the 20th, hosted at Bizarro's Deli, and the bout draw starts a little later at 7 p.m. and the show gets going at 7:30. And it is also $10 per person. Now, our free monthly workshop is hosted at the Williamsburg Regional Library from 2 to 4 p.m. So come kick it with us. Listen, Slam Connection doesn't happen without everyday people tuning in, being a part, and getting on stage. So from us here at Slam Connection, thank you so much, and we'll see y'all later.